I'd like to go over a little case study, I guess, or an example that we had with a sponsor that we helped put in an IND application for. And they had made use of the Interact meeting and had also very successfully leveraged their cross-functional communication pathways, both internally within their own organization and also cross-functionally with us. So the sponsor was developing an AAV vector, and they wanted to deliver a normal copy of an enzyme in a tissue-specific manner in order to restore function for an inborn deficiency. So pretty, what I would call straightforward, gene therapy, if such a thing is true or exists. This was their first IND. And that is not surprising. This is going to be very typical in that a lot of the developers are, growing out of academics, academic labs, and may or may not, be spinning up into their own little biotech, or maybe they got bought or whatever else happened. But it's very not uncommon for this to be their first IND. Now, they were the absolute experts on their science, their mechanism of action of their platform, and the disease pathology of the disease that they were trying to treat. What they were struggling with, of course, was how do we present all of this data that we have accumulated, both preclinical, non-clinical data, as well as manufacturing data. How do we package it in an IND so that we get the best result? And as I said, it's not a unique situation at all to sponsors in general, and particularly to gene and cell therapy companies. So they had, as I mentioned, they had used an Interact meeting or leveraged an Interact meeting, and they had used the feedback from that meeting to inform the design of their preclinical studies. Also, what they learned from the Interact meeting and their pre-IND meeting were the kinds of things that FDA was very interested in or concerned about, and topics that they knew might turn into issues if they didn't address them proactively. So we used our expertise to craft their data into an IND. It cleared without any kind of issue or comment. And what we did was we took their data and we took the feedback from the FDA in the form of their Interact and pre-IND meetings and used that to guide the packaging of their data and the messaging that we use throughout the IND. And this example, of course, as I said, speaks to the advantages of the early and frequent communication with the agency, as well as the importance of those cross-functional lines of communication, particularly when you're writing your IND while some of your final studies are still ongoing, which is also not a unique situation. As sort of a, well, what happened next? After they put in their IND, I did see a press release that they have posted positive phase 1/2 results from their study and their ongoing study in adults. They are using a primary endpoint that is considered clinically meaningful by the agency, and that they would ultimately be able to submit their BLA on, actually. So I think that it was pretty obvious that they discussed that endpoint selection with the agency and got their buy-in there as well. And they're also using an adaptive design in their current phase 1/2 study that is going to allow them to evolve that study basically into their pivotal study if everything goes well. And the design and escalation of that study, it would have been something that they probably would have addressed or discussed with the agency as well. So all in all, a very good example of putting the work in on the communication front to streamline a clinical program and hopefully get to market a little bit quicker.